Hello, I'm Zoiliux, and welcome back to another Marvel Rivals guide. In this guide, we'll be covering one of the best and fan-favorite X-Men, Jean Grey. Or the Phoenix? I'm just gonna stick with the Phoenix. But in this video, we'll be covering all of her abilities, how to best use them in our matches, and some tips and tricks along the way. If you enjoyed the video or it helps you in any way, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for more. Anyways, let's begin! Let's start with her primary fire, Cosmic Flames. When pressed, she'll fire out a Flame Blast that deals 50 damage per hit and has a damage falloff going up to 60% at 30 meters and further. But in addition to that, each hit you land, you apply 2 stacks of something called Spark. So each hit will apply 1 stack of Spark. For critical hits or headshots, we'll apply 2 stacks of Sparks. Once an opponent gets to 3 stacks, they will explode, damaging themselves and anyone near them. Then, you'll gain some healing over time. To crunch the numbers, the person being exploded, the person that got to 3 stacks and blew up, they will take 40 damage from the explosion, and anyone near them, or within 4 meters of them, will take 12 damage and 1 stack of Spark will be applied to them. As for the healing over time, once the explosion triggers, you'll gain 10 health every second for 4 seconds, or 40 health total. Her next ability, her right click, is Telekinesis Burst, which I'm going to refer to as TK Burst for the rest of this guide because telekinesis is a bit of a mouthful. Anyways, when pressed, the Phoenix will shoot out a ball of fire to a targeted area where it will explode, then be followed up with 2 more explosions going in a straight line from the first explosion. As with every ability, there are a few important things to note. For starters, the explosions deal 20 damage each or 60 damage total if you hit an enemy with all 3. Next, the first explosion, the initial one that you send out, will stun enemies hits for 0.3 seconds, or just a third of a second, while the next 2 explosions apply a 30% slow for 2 seconds. And finally, the ability has a cooldown time of 10 seconds. Next up, we have her E ability, Dark Ascent. When pressed, the Phoenix and Jean Grey will merge and they'll gain a movement speed boost and the ability to fly for a limited time. This one is pretty simple, but still a couple things to note. For starters, you can fly for a max duration of 3 seconds. The ability holds 1200 charge and you spend 400 per second, so 3 seconds. You also gain back charge at a rate of 120 per second or 10 seconds for a full recharge. But I do want to note that you don't have to wait for the ability to fully recharge to use it, the duration will just be shorter. So if you use it while it's at half charge, you'll only get a second and a half of flight versus, the full charge of 3 seconds. Finally, for each second you're flying, you'll actually reload 4 rounds, so you can get 12 back into your mag if you use the ability for its full duration. Pretty good for reloading and repositioning at the same time. Next up, we have her final regular ability, Telepathic Illusion. When pressed, the Phoenix will dash 8 meters in any direction, leaving behind an illusion that explodes. The dash is 8 meters in any direction, depending on how you're pressing your WASD keys or which angle you're pushing your stick. The illusion explodes that deals 50 damage in a 3 meter radius and applies 1 stack of Spark to any enemies hit by the detonation. And then finally, there's a cooldown time of 12 seconds after you use your dash. Finally, we have her ultimate, In Song Inferno. When pressed, the Phoenix will rise and crash down on an area, dealing massive damage, healing the Phoenix, applying 1 stack of Spark on anyone hit, and destroying any enemy summons, shields, and bonus health. With this one though, there are a couple important things to note. For starters, when the Phoenix crashes into the ground, there's an explosion and a small shockwave that comes out from it. The explosion deals 140 damage and the shockwave deals 50, so you're going to want to land as close to targets as possible if you're going to deal the full 190 damage. Next, it's actually the shockwave portion of the ultimate that destroys the enemy summons, shields, and temporary health, not the explosion. On top of that, you also get 250 health when you use your ultimate, which is important to note because that 250 health might be enough to save you in a lot of cases. Then, the Phoenix Bird itself can actually be destroyed by the enemy team, detonating it mid-air and early, which you don't want because most of the time it's above everyone and won't hit a single enemy. Finally, when Jean sends out the Phoenix, she doesn't actually move. Think of it as like a Predator missile from Call of Duty. They even still have those, if you're familiar with that. Jean stays put and actually disappears from the map. You send out the Phoenix, it lands and nukes some people, then you return as Jean in the same spot you activated your ultimate from. You don't actually respawn where the ultimate lands, so just keep that in mind. Now that we know what her abilities do, how can we best use them to help our team and do our job as a DPS? Well, I think that the Phoenix works perfectly as a highly mobile DPS that can harass the enemy team. similar to how a lot of people play Psylocke, but obviously with a few key differences. Her mobility is one of her strongest assets, because it's what's going to let you get into good positions or deal damage and make picks for your team, reposition to help a teammate, or just get out of a team fight or a sticky situation that went south. Dark Ascent is her key movement ability. It gives you a movement speed buff of 50%, allowing you to quickly get to where you need to be, and of course, it lets you fly, meaning you can get into a great position or take great angles that other characters might have a hard time dealing with or getting up to. This ability is made even better because you actually reload while in flight, so you can fire your entire primary fire, fly away to reposition, and then instantly come out of it with ammo already in your mag to keep up the pressure and to keep applying your stacks of spark. With this ability, you do have to keep one thing in mind though. If you try to fire your weapon or use an ability, it will end your flight. So you might be able to land, a couple shots on the way down, but you're not going to be able to contest the airways while bumping shoulders with the Human Torch and Storm. Her other movement ability is her Telepathic Illusion, and this can be used for movement, but it's also just a really great ability to use while in a fight. When you use the ability, you get an 8-meter dash, which can cover a lot of ground, get you behind a corner, or just get you out of an AoE before it ends you. But this ability has a much better use in combat. Sure, the illusion detonates and deals 50 damage and applies 1 stack of spark, which isn't bad for an ability, but it also gives you a pretty decent dash. But the most important thing to remember about the dash is you can dash in any direction. This is going to completely mess up your foes. You can just drop your illusion and dash anywhere. Meanwhile, you know exactly where the enemy is, so they have to look around for you and waste time trying to get their aim back on target when you don't, which gives you a massive advantage. Say a Punisher is pushing me. I can drop my illusion and dash behind him while turning my camera. By the time the dash is over, I'm already lighting up his back with my primary fire, while he's still trying to turn around and figure out where he's getting shot from. And you can of course mix this up over the course of a match so your enemy can't predict where you're gonna be. You want to try to do that. Try to be unpredictable. One time, dash behind them and force them into a 180 turn. Next time, dash further away from them and watch as they're already turning, expecting to catch you from behind, when in reality, you just moved further away and you're now shooting them from the front. Speaking of which, her primary fire. I think it's relatively simple to use. It shoots in a straight line and is damn near hit scan, so you really don't need to worry about leading targets in most cases. It also makes it great for taking down flyers. Since there's not really any travel time, you can reliably hit flying targets once you get some time in with the character. Just remember that it takes 3 sparks to trigger an explosion. 1 shot gives you 1 stack of spark, but critical hits or headshots will give you 2 stacks. So you're going to want to aim for the head as much as possible to trigger as many explosions as possible. Which, don't forget, anytime you do trigger a spark explosion, you receive 40 health over the course of 4 seconds, which can really help your survivability. For that reason, you're going to want to try to use your movement abilities to get into a position or take an angle where you can attack the enemy team when they're all grouped up or from behind. Your sparks have an AoE, your ultimate has an AoE, and TK Burst is also an AoE. TK Burst should be your opener, once you get into a good position by using Dark Ascent or Telepathic Illusion. Remember, TK Burst has 3 explosions that fire in a line. The first one stuns, and the other 2 apply a 30% slow, and if an enemy is hit by any of these explosions, they get 1 spark applied to them. This is fantastic to use when you flank someone or catch the enemy team off guard. You can stun them and then slow them, pretty much guaranteeing at least 1 spark explosion. I mean, all it will take is the 1 spark from TK Burst and 1 headshot. That's your 3 on 1 person, and they'll pop, triggering a spark explosion, and that'll give an additional spark to everyone near them that they hit, putting everyone else at 2 sparks, making it even easier for you to trigger an additional spark explosion on the rest of the team. You can see how this all snowballs. You land your TK Burst from a good position, pop 1 person with a headshot, then everyone else follows shortly after because they already have so many stacks of spark applied to them. And this isn't even taking into account that you're going to have teammates taking advantage of the stun and slows as well. Then finally, we have her ultimate, which I think can be used to finish off a team that is low or is a great tool to initiate a team fight. If the enemy team is already low and they're retreating, the ultimate deals 190 damage, which is more than capable of ending a lot of the roster when they're, half or below. But remember, you also apply 1 stack of spark with their ultimate, so if they're already at 2 stacks of spark and you hit them with their ultimate, it'll actually trigger a spark explosion, dealing even more damage to those enemies, and making it even more likely that you'll pick up a couple of kills. Next, it can be a great tool to initiate with. Remember, the shockwave from her ultimate destroys enemy summons, shields, and temporary health. So if an enemy team is playing really bunker, or if they're running a lot of shields that your team can't seem to get through, you could use this to drop them and leave an opening for your team to push through. For example, the Phoenix can go in and drop all the shields and temporary health, and then a Punisher can follow up with his ultimate, and the enemy team won't have any shields to block it or hide behind. Moving on, we have the final section of this guide, the combos and counters. Let's start with the combos. I think she combos well with allies that have a lot of AoE or that can take advantage of the distraction she can be and her ability to drop shields with her ultimate. For example, the Phoenix has really good AoE damage, but paired with a decent Moon Knight, and they can just annihilate a team in seconds with the amount of AoE damage that they have at their disposal. Another decent pick would be Star-Lord or Punisher. Both characters have decent or good mobility that can flank with her if they need to, and both have abilities and ultimates that are hard countered by shields, something that she can drop at the, drop of her ultimate. Then, of course, I can't forget to mention her team up with Wolverine, which she only gets a 10% damage boost too. Not much, but with how much damage she can do already, and on multiple targets at once, it can definitely add up over the course of an entire match. Then we have her counters. I think she's countered by characters with a stun, high movement, or those that can shut her ultimate down. Stuns just destroy her. She only has 275 health and really relies on her movement and self-healing to save her if a support is not around. But if she's stunned or locked into place by a Squirrel Girl or a Mantis, odds are she'll get melted before she can fully escape. Then we have high movement characters that also give her a really hard time. Her primary fire is really accurate and long range, not a lot of spread and not really suited for close range combat. So characters like Spider-Man and Black Panther can just get into her personal space and move around a ton while slicing and dicing, or well, punching in Spider-Man's case. Basically, they can hit you easily and you can't hit them as easily. Now, you can try to counter with your stun, but it's only a third of a second, and odds are as soon as they get out of it, they're going to be right back on top of you. Then, if you try to fly or dash away, those characters will have movement abilities of their own, meaning they'll be able to keep up and chase you down. Finally, she's also pretty countered by characters that can shut down her ultimates. Remember, the enemy team can destroy your Phoenix and detonate it early, so characters that are hit scan or deal high damage, like Punisher, Hela, Hawkeye, and honestly many more, they're able to just quickly flick up to your bird and destroy it. Meaning you just need to be a bit more careful or use it in an odd angle where you'll be able to land it before the enemy team has time to figure out which direction it's coming from or where it's at. And I think that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything new, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for more amazing Marvel Rivals gameplay and guides. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below letting me know what you want me to cover next and what type of content you guys want to see. And of course, don't forget to check the description down below for a link to my Discord server where we can group up with other people, play some rivals, and just stay up to date with all my uploads. I'm Zuliuleaks, and I will see you in the next video.